With the X-Men comics having been going longer than most of its fans have been on this earth, guilty as charged, there's bound to be some moments in their history that leave you wondering what exactly the creativity behind them were thinking. Between accidentally hilarious storylines, entirely cringy love stories, and just a sprinkling of absolutely mad new characters, some X-Men moments managed to take what could have been a fairly normal comic and instead give you one of the weirdest experiences of your life. They often come out of nowhere too, in the middle of an otherwise totally conventional series, providing you a surprise shot of confusion where you'd least expect it. So, buckle up folks, things are about to get bumpy. I'm Ewan, this is What Culture Comics, and here are the 10 most inappropriate X-Men storylines. Number 10. Ugly John, New X-Men number 114. Ugly John appears in precisely 2 comics, New X-Men 114 and 115 respectively, and is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the saddest comic characters in existence. In an upsetting twist, Ugly John is actually the character's superhero alias, as his real name is Steve. Why would this superhero name be an insult? Well, Steve's power is that he has 3 faces, and apparently, each one is equally and uniquely ugly. While it is kind of funny to have such a useless ability in a universe where people get to control half the world with their powers, it is also kind of sad, as Luck essentially set the world against Ugly John from the start. He doesn't even get a cool death, as in his final issue he is injured by wild sentinels and then put down by Cyclops when his injuries are too bad, meaning his coolest moment is just being the mutant equivalent of Old Yeller. Number 9. Emma Frost and Cyclops make out on Jean Grey's grave. New X-Men 154. Another moment for the ages. There are a few fans up to date with the love triangle between Jean Grey, Cyclops, and Emma Frost who don't remember the moment Frost and Scott kissed on Jean's grave without equal amounts of confusion and vague revulsion. There are at least some excuses for this one. For starters, it's Grant Morrison and he's completely blameless. Secondly, Jean Grey did briefly appear to Scott after her death, pretty much asking that he pursue Emma now that she wasn't around. However, there still is a big old line between pursuing a relationship with someone and making out with them at their final resting place of your recently deceased other half. With Emma still being openly rude about the very dead Jean around Scott, you'd at least think you discussed the concept of personal boundaries around his dead wife before smooching her long-term rival. Number 8. Nightcrawler becoming the Pope, Uncanny X-Men number 423. It's hard to remember the cartoonish Holy War storyline that ran between issue 423 to 24 of the Uncanny X-Men without internally flinching just a little. The story details Kurt Wagner, known better as the Nightcrawler, being recruited to shapeshift into the Pope by an evil sect of the Catholic Church that sought to wipe out all mutants. While this isn't a huge deal, the way the comic is set out, with the Pope having evil powers and them hanging mutants on crosses, is so over the top that any genuine critique of the institution is thrown directly out the window in lieu of wacky evil antics. Number 7. The metal world-ending villain that was in love with Jean Grey, X-Men number 53. Many people who have read the first few existing issues of the X-Men will have reacted with profound confusion at Professor X initially being in love with Jean Grey, who he had both trained from childhood and became a surrogate father figure to. Naturally, it was presumed that this had ceased to be a part of the X-Men canon, as years passed without the plot point ever being raised again, and we all forgot about its general weirdness. Until 30 years later, when, in the event that saw Magneto and Xavier fuse together and the villain known as Onslaught, we saw the cringe-inducing moment raise its head once more. Quite literally, in fact, as when Jean goes to confront Onslaught, he shows her the exact panels we winced at from years prior, much to her total horror. With it being safely forgotten and assumed no longer relevant, it's profoundly unclear why it was decided to bring back Xavier's secret longings, aside from to force drama between Jean and her beloved mentor. Number 6. Nightcrawler dating his stepsister, X-Men Annual number 4. The moral implications of finding your long-lost brother, not telling him who you are, and then dating him for a considerable amount of time before finally revealing this dark secret are pretty damn strong. Yet, this is exactly the storyline for Jermaine Zardos, Nightcrawler's stepsister, who hides her identity and becomes Amanda Sefton, the hero's long-term girlfriend. The most concerning part of all of this, however, isn't even how nightmarish the build-up is. As bad as that is, it pales in comparison to the reveal that Kurt isn't horrified that someone who he'd consider a family member has been lying to him in order to date him. No, instead, he's pleased as punch to have been unknowingly dating his sister the whole time, and expresses this both to her and his fellow superheroes repeatedly. Look, when I say Nightcrawler's my favorite X-Man, I don't mean this. Seriously. Had they played into the adopted aspect of Kurt's familial ties with Jermaine, maybe this could have been made less creepy. What actually happens, however, is that the two flip between referring to themselves as both brother and sister and boyfriend and girlfriend, reminding us yet again that what happened in the 70s stays in the 70s. Number 5. Mystique chats up a high schooler, X-Men worst X-Man ever. Although all the world's worst X-Men comic is made of weird and wild moments from start to finish, Mystique's seduction of the comic star Bailey is definitely at the top of the list. Mystique launches into one of the creepiest villain rants of history at the boy, and also turns into his mother while trying to seduce him at one point, which manages to send an already weird scene into some straight-up Oedipal territory. While we're never told Bailey's exact age, we are explicitly told that he's a minor, which means Mystique was dancing into some pretty gross territory. More importantly, Mystique does all this in order to get a picture of her and Bailey kissing to blackmail him with, which takes the fun tone the comic had until then into a really, really dark place. It's by no means the weirdest moment that Mystique has ever been associated with, but for an otherwise funny and light-hearted comic, the weird blackmail subplot could have been carried off in a million ways that didn't channel some super creepy Freudian themes. Number 4. Anything with skin. Various comics. Angelo Espinosa possesses one of the most unfortunate superpowers in the entire colourful cast of the X-Men, being the proud holder of the nightmarish ability that is an extra 4 to 6 feet of skin on his body that he is able to control at will. This becomes exactly as unnerving as you'd imagine, as watching skin make the human body into shapes it shouldn't be able to form triggers some primal instinct in the back of your head to start screaming and never stop until he is out of sight. As such, Skin's ability to appear entirely uncanny to the human eye does make his appearances in comics more than a little disturbing, which is a dying shame, because he does seem to be a genuinely decent fella. Number 3. BEAK and TEMPEST'S Egg Babies. New X-Men number 141. In the midst of all the other various odd plots occurring during the new X-Men Murder at the Mansion storyline, we get perhaps the biggest and most unusual plot twist of all, in the form of some weird fleshy eggs. It's unabashedly gross, so much so that it almost endears you to the whole situation, especially as the storyline essentially covers the story of a young teenage pregnancy, albeit a young teenage pregnancy between a couple where one looks like a bird and one that can spit acid, which is actually strangely similar to the story Jules tells me about the night I was conceived, so plagiarism? Question mark? While it has a pleasant resolution when the babies are finally released from their egg sacs, the initial discovery of them is something straight out of the pages of a horror novel, with a terrifying shot to the mysterious and not especially picturesque eggs clustered on the roof of the building where they were being kept. Number 2. Quicksilver sleeping with his sister. Ultimates 3. Oh god, Jeff Loeb, what were you thinking? The almost purposeful grossness surrounding Quicksilver's romantic and inordinately suggestive relationship in the Ultimate series is one of the most well-known spots of weirdness in the Marvel Universe, although it being common knowledge in no way stops it from being profoundly weird. Bonding over their shared frustrations with their father Magneto, the pair begin a relationship that initially can be read as platonic if you squint at it, before being revealed to be explicitly romantic in Ultimates 3. The weirdest part of the whole thing is that this incest is sort of approved within the comic itself, with Wasp telling Captain America that his horrified reaction is due to his quote-unquote 1944 brain, and not, basic common sense and decency. The Ultimate series is weird enough without this story in it, but it all gets amped up to 11 with this unimaginably sketchy side plot. And number 1, the Skye sex love story. Uncanny X-Men number 440. The stuff of sheer, genuine disbelief. Few comic moments in the past, present, or future will ever replicate the genuine weirdness that was watching X-Men member Angel lifting his girlfriend Paige into the sky and then making love to her right there, incredibly explicitly, and with her friends and family gathered below. An incredible, disturbing flex, all things considered, and one that could only have come from the mind of one Chuck Austin. It's the kind of surreal, unintentionally funny moment that you just couldn't create if you were actually trying to go for that kind of vibe, let alone accidentally creating one in a moment that was intended to be emotional. Now, gather round, folks, and listen in closely, because if there is ever a dark moment in your life, you can at least rest safe in the knowledge that imagining two people doing it while gently rising into the sky is hilarious enough to cure the vast majority of things that ail you. Which is lucky, because once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. Forever. Cheers for that, Chuck Austin.
Hello YouTube, we're turning things up to 11 with the launch of What Culture Music.
It's our brand new channel featuring all those lists you just can't get enough of, including creepy hidden messages in your favourite pop songs,
as well as radio-friendly songs that detail literal murder. That's as well as Chatty Faces, where we get personal with you on our sordid musical tastes, in-depth discussion podcasts, and we're even doing quality fun stuff like tournaments and quizzes too.
There's going to be something for everybody, so come on over and make some sweet music with us.
Or just watch the videos, that works too.
Like, share and subscribe at the link below, and we will see you there.
Bye.
Oh, and that was our list about the most inappropriate X-Men stories of all time. Find more content like this at whatculture.com/comics, more of me on Twitter at @RunesThings, and more of the terrifying stories found here at your local comic book shop. Until next time, goodbye, and be sure not to have too many X-Men related nightmares.